episode 89 of Sketching Up here on Schnabel Studios. We're going to talk about the Barbie movie. There's a couple other things we're going to talk about too, but the Barbie movie, I have not seen it, but our very special guest that'll be joining us has. Right after the credits roll, stay right there. Welcome back to another episode of Sketching Up. Before we start, make sure you follow Schnabel Studios on everything social media: Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, LinkedIn, YouTube. You can find a bunch of clips, or you can find old episodes on there. If you want to listen to full episodes, go to Spotify or anywhere you get your podcasts. You can also watch us on Spotify or YouTube if that's how you want to consume the show. Make sure you go search Schnabel Studios wherever you get your podcasts. You can listen to this. There's a new episode of Southern Hospitality coming out this week. There's going to be a new Mad Props throwback this week. So there's a lot of stuff to catch up on. So definitely go follow, subscribe, like, share, do everything. Help us out. We help you out by bringing you content week after week. Now, you'll notice it's not just me today. Or it's not me, Kyle, and Matt, I should say today. That's because my very lovely girlfriend, Mary Hutti, has joined us to talk about the Barbie movie. The reason we are bringing her on, and we're leaving the other two off this week, is because none of us has seen the Barbie movie, but it's such a big movie right now that has to be talked about. So we brought her on. Mary, how are you?
I'm good. Thanks for having me on. I'm so excited.
This is her first appearance on any of my podcasts,
I feel
at least
so
as a
famous. I
guest.
feel like I've made it.
Yeah, you've made it in front of all these millions of listeners that we have.
You're doing really good, baby. You have lots of
Thank you.
listeners.
Yeah, tens of them. We're going to have you talk about the Barbie movie because you went and you saw it and you have a lot of opinions on it. I have not seen it, but I have some knowledge of some of the behind the scenes stuff, like the money it's made and how it's ranking within movies and stuff like that. And I also have an opinion about films altogether that the Barbie movie is like. I personally wanted to start this, and I know you were saying what before when we were talking pre-show about this. And it's funny, people don't realize that we're in the same house right now, but we're in different rooms because there's a lot of echo and stuff like that. So we are actually in the same location. You
Yeah, it's
are
a
only
bit
the
weird.
second. Yeah, it's like only the second podcast I think I've done with somebody that I've actually been in the same room as them. One episode of Mad Props I did like that, but that's it. Um, yeah, it's a little weird being like in a completely different floor of the house, but we're together. We're actually here for this. Before we start, I want to talk about Paul Reubens, who passed away very recently. For people who don't know who that is, he was Pee Wee Herman, um, and, Pee Wee's Playhouse and stuff like that, and a bunch of movies and TV shows. I first of all want to say, rest in peace, Paul Reubens. I'll introduce what you're going to talk about, and I'll let you say
Well,
what
I
you want
don't,
to
yeah,
say.
because I don't know as much as you do. I feel like
Yeah.
I learned through you and I haven't really looked it up really because I feel like there's going to be
So
100 different things that are going to be said.
So I read a couple articles on this
Okay.
before I came to you with it, and so one of your favorite artists is Lizzo, who is in very hot water right now. So hot that she's being sued. She is being sued for I think it was sexual harassment
Sexual
or
harassment.
sexual harassment. The big story to go with it is it's one of her former dancers, and then I believe a security guard. Um, the former dancer, they brought them all to a nude club. Is how it and multiple articles described it as a nude club, and she would make them do things that they didn't want to do. And the reason they did it is they were fearful they were going to lose their job. And then there was a security guard as well, or someone on her security team that she did not great things with, or to, I should say, who's also in this lawsuit. So I don't want to describe too much. I guess I could describe as much after the last thing I just said, but the Pee Wee Herman stuff. But yeah, so she is being sued for sexual harassment, it's a big story because she's being sued for sexual harassment, right? And like that's a big deal. But it's also a big deal because the energy and personality that she gives off as her stage persona, like, is kind of the complete opposite of that. So it also makes it a big deal. And she also, her and the choreographer in this story, would fat shame the big girl dancers, which is just the bizarre twist of it all. But
I mean,
like that's
didn't
like
we
supposed to
all
be the whole
fall in
point.
love with Watch Out for the Big Girls on Amazon Prime?
I
This
don't
is
think we
very
all did,
upsetting.
but
No,
it's
I
it's like
did.
part of her. It's part of her
I
whole
did.
thing, right? It's like
Yes.
be
She made
happy
an
with your body.
entire reality TV show about picking girls to be her dancers that were like big girls. And it's like all about women empowerment and like all
They're
this
called the
stuff.
big girls.
They're called the big
They're
girls.
called
Like
the big
she's
girls. Like,
celebrating
what are
that.
we
That
doing?
she really does post herself out as celebrating that. Okay. I have something from
Okay,
NBC. Okay. The suit
okay,
name's Lizzo,
credible.
who's, yes, well, it's more credible than others, whose real name is Melissa Vivian Jefferson. Her production company and Quigley, I guess that's one of her managers, maybe, as defendants.
Yeah,
In
it's
addition to
her. It's
accusations of hostile work environment and sexual
there. You go.
harassment, the suit brings claims for religious and racial harassment, false imprisonment, interference with prospective economic advantage, and other allegations. Eek. That's tough.
So as the future lawyer, what are some of these allegations uh, that
You
she
want me to
has
break
against
them
her?
down for you, what that
Why
means?
not? Why
Okay.
not?
Well, I think a lot of them are
You don't have to
pretty
break it down to a fine powder. Just
self-explanatory. Some of them, a lot of them are very self-explanatory.
what
Hostile
is
work
the
environment.
religious? What is the religious one?
I don't know. Religious harassment is probably a First Amendment claim.
Hmm. So, with all this being said, how much doo doo is she standing in?
Oh my gosh, Chris, you act as if I know these things.
You're a future lawyer. I don't know. I just know that it's. You know what? Who
This
cares
is
about
a
the law
lot, but
part of
it
it right
does
now?
say that not
Oh,
every
God.
claim was brought against each defendant, which means that
Yes, there's two.
she personally might only be being sued for the sexual harassment in the hostile work environment. And those are tort damages. So they're just looking for
Okay.
money compensation. They're not looking for her to go to jail or anything. So, I mean,
Well,
it's just
that's
going to be money
makes sense with
damages. But here's the thing is
famous
that
people.
it,
I was gonna say, all
it's
that being aside,
her,
her
her
persona is gonna be
exactly.
hurt. That's what I was about to say. Like, let's
She might
forget the
actually
law part of
countersue
it.
for defamation of character and for compensatory damages for like for the slander, right? That like,
Well, if it's real,
well then that they won't win. That is like that is what defamation is that it would only count if it were real. But you know, for celebrities, they have a much like harder time proving that because since they put themselves out into the public, they've accepted that they are going to be someone who's spoken about. But
Mhm.
since this is such a like a really big allegation, I think that she could have a defamation case, but she'd have to prove that it was wrong. And I don't. I mean, how would you prove that? You know,
Yeah. Well, how do you prove that it happened?
I think
That's
the testimony of the plaintiffs, the three women that are alleging it, and then
well, some former on top of all this, some former dancers and stuff like that that aren't in the case also said, yeah, this stuff is true. This is kind of what happened. Blah 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 blah. They have posted on their stories or whatever,
yeah,
however people announce things nowadays. They both said one was like one of the creative people, and the other one was a dancer, and they said, yeah, this happens on tour and stuff like that.
wow,
So
that's so tough because we went and saw her in Chicago.
yeah,
And we both said like she was just such a good performer. Like even at the show, she had that whole moment of meditation where she turned on the lights and she had that whole video and had the whole arena breathe. Like it was just so beautiful. And I felt like it was such a and also Lizzo just holds herself out as somebody who is empowering and someone who wants to encourage other women and empower other women. And she really like portrayed that her big girls are kind of everything to her. And this
hmm
is just such, I don't know, it does kind of feel like, really, Lizzo? Like, I don't know, she kind of like played us a little bit.
yeah.
It's upsetting. It
I
kind
think
of feels
well,
like a
it's part of the
Ellen.
act.
Yes. And you know, that is always our thing. We always get so discouraged with celebrities when they're not their true selves. And that's why it's so hard for us to even like, comprehend that people in Hollywood or in LA or whatever in the business could be genuine and good because this stuff happens, it's like a
Yeah.
power trip.
Well, then you also have the part where some celebrities get it harder than others when they do stuff like this because some are made to be like made an example of, and then some aren't. Like like
Yeah.
Robert Downey Jr., for example, was made an example of and was kind of blacklisted because he had a huge drug and alcohol problem when all of Hollywood at that time had a huge drug and alcohol problem, but they trying to make an example of somebody. So
Yeah.
will she be that? Like, will she be? I think, who's another one, and this might be controversial to say. Another one that I feel like kind of got put into that was Louis C.K., who did it. He did something disgusting, and not
Yeah.
great.
That was
But
gross.
I think he was kind of made an example of at the time, because this is the same time like the Harvey Weinstein,
Wait, for the
right?
people that don't know, what did Louis C.K. do?
He touched himself inappropriately in front of two women in a green room,
Right. Okay.
which is gross and obviously not like legal. But he was compared to what like Bill Cosby and Harvey Weinstein were doing, which was, if you're making comparisons, that's a lot worse with it, because they were literally forcing women to have sex with them. Like, one was forcing women to have sex with them for parts, the other one was drugging women so they
Yeah.
would pass out. And like, I think, but they were all at the same time, so they're like, well, anybody that does anything like this has to be like punished to the harshest extent, because it was all happening at the same time. I'm not saying that any of it was right. That's what I'm trying. Let me say that right now. I'm not saying any of it was right. I'm just saying, like, talking about being made of, is it going to be like that same thing? Like, are they going to really make an example of her and be like, listen, you preached this, you told them this, and now you're doing the opposite? Like, you're we're gonna drag you through the mud, or
Mm.
is it just gonna be something that in 2 years we see dancers won case against Lizzo and everyone forgot that it even happened, which happens all the time too.
Yeah. No, I don't think that this is going to blow over. It kind of reminds me a little bit of an Ellen DeGeneres moment
Uh,
because
yeah.
because she was so beloved by fans and she really did hold herself out as this person who was joyful and nice to other people, and her tagline was like be kind to one another or something like that, you know? And so I think that that really kind of shocked a lot of people, and this, I don't know, this definitely shocks me. As
You
someone who's a
say,
fan, I feel like I'm really
you say,
bummed.
well, you say like it's going to be kind of like the Ellen DeGeneres show, but am I wrong? Doesn't that show still go on, or is it now in
Yeah, but do you
syndication?
think it really has like the clout it used to? No. She
Well,
dropped off, you know. I think
maybe
what I'm
not,
trying
but she
that's
didn't
exactly
lose
what I'm saying.
everything.
Like, do I think Lizzo's going to lose everything? No. She's going to come out and like say she was wrong and, try to be better and all this stuff. Like maybe it will kind of be like a Demi Lovato situation where Demi Lovato was like, "Oh, I was a horrible person, but I was also on drugs and just, not in a good place myself." So, I
Well,
don't know.
I would hate for her to be like, I'm sorry that I sexually harassed people, but I was on drugs. Like, that will not make it better in my eyes. Like, oh, so you just get super high and then you do terrible things as well.
No, I think you and I see things so differently. Maybe I just believe that people can change and I want to like,
I
see the
believe
best.
I believe people can change. That's what I'm trying to say. Is she going to be one that gets just dragged through the mud?
No, there's no way she gets canceled. There's no way. She's Lizzo.
Well, we'll have to
I don't
wait and
think she'll
find
get
out.
canceled, but I do think that people will drop in their like, I don't, this
Yeah,
is just like, it's
probably.
kind of hard for me to rack my brain around because you know how much I love Lizzo. Lizzo, I
Yeah.
listen to Lizzo every single day.
Yeah.
Lizzo is such a queen in my eyes. Like, I just don't understand. Also, recently, so this kind of goes with the Barbie movie because she has a part in the Barbie movie. She sings these songs and Barbie like acts to the song. So she's like one of like the characters. It's like
Mhm.
the voice from above. But I also watched the movie Hustlers yesterday and she's in that too. Lizzo. She's one of the
Well,
strippers.
for
And I thought,
for for people that watch the Eric Andre show, she was in like season 2, which was
yeah.
way before she really was big. So like
Yeah. So Lizzo's
she's
kind of got her
all
hands in like a
over.
lot of pots. That's what I'm saying. I feel like she's all over. She's very trendy right now. She's in. And so this is like a really intense time for this to drop,
Well, that's
especially
usually when it
on
does.
tour. Did the tour end officially?
I don't know.
I don't know.
That's usually when this stuff does happen, though, is when people are at their peak, because it's very easy to get what you need from them, because people are going to be like, hey, listen, let's shove it under the rug. But I will say one thing about you saying, I don't know if this will just blow over. You wouldn't even know about it if I didn't come upstairs and tell
Yeah,
you.
but Chris, I'm so not in the know.
But
You're
that's
way more in the know than I am. You're always on.
But
social media for your job.
it's
I
yeah, for
never
my
go on
job,
social
exactly.
media.
So I'm always on. So of course this stuff finds me, right?
That's what I'm saying. It's like, but I don't really go on
But to
social
the
media.
normal person, would this have come up?
I don't know.
I guess we just have to ask. I haven't seen it
No
anywhere else
one's brought
except
it
for
up
that
to
one
me.
spot.
None of my friends
I
have brought
saw
it
it
up to
I
me.
saw it in one spot and then I researched it. That's how I learned more
Mm,
about it. So like no, yeah, none of your friends have brought it up. I people that I know that like Lizzo haven't brought it up. So who knows? It might just get swept under and
I don't know.
they'll pay them the money and then you'll never hear from it again.
I was gonna say I would go on my Instagram now and see what pops up, but obviously everything that is gonna pop up is gonna be Lizzo because we've been talking about it for the last 10 minutes. But
Of course, and the phone's listening. Well, why don't we switch it from Lizzo to
okay.
Barbie? And so usually when we
Hey
do this, we're not going to do it
Barbie.
this time. Usually when we do this, we'd have a description of what happened in the movie. But because I didn't tell you that before the show, we're not going to have you describe the whole movie. What I want you to do is I want you to give a little description that you can remember and what you thought of the movie. And then I'm going to ask you some questions about the movie. And then we'll go from there. So why don't you just tell us a little bit about it? You
Okay,
don't have
but
to tell us a
you
full
told
description.
me that I should tell you a whole description of the movie.
So you have a whole description of the movie in your head
Yeah.
or written down? All right, go ahead.
Okay. So I think we should play a little clip. And I want, but it's Lizzo, so it is controversial. But if you want to listen to it, we're gonna put it
Oh,
at the end. It's
I'm
pretty much
I'm
all you
I'm
need to
picketing.
know. I
No
know,
Lizzo.
I know. We're gonna do it though, because it's just such an epic part of the movie in my eyes. Okay, so
I can
this
mute this though.
you can mute what?
I I could protest and mute. She doesn't even realize that I just did it. I protested and she's muted. I have the power.
Oh my gosh,
Now you're not
Chris.
muted.
Okay, good. That is a sneaky little trick. I don't like that one. Okay. All right. So, to talk about this movie, we have to talk about the lead up. We got to talk about where I was mentally and going into this movie, my expectations, obviously, because that shapes how you see a movie. So, one of my best girlfriends, shout out Cassidy Pappas, saw the movie and she was like, everyone has to go. If you want to feel like a badass feminist, you've got to go to this movie. But that was right before we took the bar. And so I was like, well, I'm not going to go before I take the bar. So I took the bar
The
and
bar
finished
before the Barbie.
the bar before the Barbie. But I after the bar, I was just like, I'm done. I don't want to think. I want to have fun. How do you have fun? You go see Barbie. It was fun. Okay, so I was really into it. I was excited and I got there. And of course, I can't go 5 minutes without making a friend. So I made friends with the group of people behind me and they were all dressed up. Everybody in the theater going to see Barbie was in pink. And I was not. I was in, shorts and a t-shirt. I was like, I totally missed the memo. That was super upsetting. But it's okay because the people behind me were super nice and they were like, we got to go take a picture in the Barbie box. And I was like, okay. So I got in the Barbie box. I was feeling excited. I went to the concession stand. I got all my favorite snacks, right? Popcorn, a frozen Coke, and some sour gummy worms. So I was feeling great. Okay. Walk into the movie and I sit down, go, and I was there early enough for all the commercials. So I was totally settled in and it starts rolling and it was like insane. Like it just hit you in the face. It was so pink and grand and it was so lifelike, but it was a Barbie set. Like it was everything I remember of having as a child. Like every single little detail in the Barbie's dream home was there. Like all the little stickers. And so you get there and she wakes up in Barbie land and Lizzo comes on and is explaining her morning routine. And she will brush her teeth, but she's not actually using water. There's no water. There's no toothpaste. There's no actual juice or actual food. She doesn't actually eat. So it's kind of everything that you remember as a kid, right? Because when you would play with your Barbies, it's not like you were actually giving them food. Um, and then she kind of just floats down onto the ground and she walks all throughout Barbie land. And one of the best parts of this entire movie was 100% Ryan Gosling as Ken. They casted him so well. He was hilarious. And I already really love Ryan Gosling, so that helped. But I don't know if there's a lot of people that don't like Ryan Gosling, but I think people do. I think he's a universally liked person. Chris?
Yeah, I'm yeah.
I was just gonna say, do you like Ryan Gosling?
Yeah, he's great.
Yeah, he's great. See, okay, okay. So Ryan Gosling as Ken absolutely crushed it. Absolutely crushed it. And so Barbie's walking down, and the voice of God or whoever is saying, "Oh, Bobby always has a great day in Barbie Land, but Ken only has a great day if Bobby looks at him." And it's just like the entire movie is Ryan Gosling fighting for Margot Robbie's attention, because that's literally all Ken's job description is beach. And he's supposed to just go to the beach, and he's supposed to love Barbie. And there's a lot of like funny innuendos in there that you wouldn't catch unless you were an adult. And so I feel like this film was really good for the whole family, because if you were kids, it was just cute and funny, and like you didn't really get it, it went over your head. But if you were an adult, you really did kind of like get the little jokes that they were trying to make. So it was cute, it was fun. Except for someone my mom's age that she rose with went, and she told Bonnie that she didn't understand any of the references. So I think there's like a very specific generation that this movie
I
was made
think
for.
there's an age group for this.
It was people our age in their 20s and 30s, and then if they have kids, like that's it, you know? So it was super fun. Um, so yeah, they kind of go on this trip because Barbie starts to believe that like these really dark thoughts. So she has like irrepressible thoughts of death, and she thinks about cellulite, and she thinks about what's going to happen after this. And it's just very out of character for Barbie. And she goes to the weird Barbie. And the weird Barbie is like the Barbie that every girl had, that they like kind of went crazy on and like cut all their hair off and like colored on them and like tore their clothes up and just made them really weird. Because I feel like that's just like it's talking to like the inner fantasy of all of us to like kind of be weird and quirky, you know, and like especially in private when like you're just playing with your dolls. And so she has to go to Weird Barbie's house and ask Weird Barbie how to get rid of these thoughts of death. And Weird Barbie, who's played by Kate McKinnon, and it's just like really
Of course.
hilarious. Of course, of course. She actually kills this role. She really does. Um, she's like, you got to go on a quest, and you got to find the girl in the real world that's playing with you. And so she has to explain the difference between Barbie Land and the real world. And they go on this trip, and it's actually exactly like Elf. I read this article about Will Ferrell being in this movie and how Buddy's trip was very similar to Barbie's trip, because Barbie has to like go on this rocket ship and go on this boat and, you know, I don't know, drive this pink convertible, but it's behind all of these sets. It's very fake looking. And then all of a sudden, she just rolls out on rollerblades with Ken in the middle of Los Angeles. And they're in this very 80s bright neon leotards and shorts and jackets and glasses, and just it's they're getting hooted and hollered, and everyone's reacting to the way they look, and they start to realize, oh my god, we're in the real world. And in the real world, Ken discovers masculinity and patriarchy, because in Barbie Land, the men are inferior to the women. The women have all the jobs. They run the entire Supreme Court. They're the president and the entire cabinet. They do they do everything. The men just sit around and just barbecue and go to the beach and do things like that. And so Ken feels like he's never taken, you know, seriously in Barbie Land. And when he goes to the real world, he starts to see how men dominate. And he gets really excited about it. And he's like, I've got to go back to Barbie Land, and I've got to tell, you know, the boys about this. And so someone asks him, well, what about Barbie? And he's like, oh, she's fine. She'll take care of herself. And he leaves. And he goes back to Barbie Land, and he like spreads the word of patriarchy. And in the meantime, Barbie is stuck in Los Angeles. I think, yeah, it's Los Angeles. And she ends up finding the human that was playing with her and the human's daughter. And like a lot of stuff happens. But basically, they realize that they have to go save Barbie Land, and the head corporation at Barbie, who is headed by Will Ferrell as like the president, CEO of Mattel. I guess that's Barbie's, you know,
Yeah, Mattel.
yeah, manufacturer. Yeah. So they try to like lock Barbie up and put her in a box, and she's like, no, we got to break free. So she goes on this big adventure with her real world person who's playing with her and the real world person's daughter, and they take them back to Barbie Land, and then they see that Barbie Land has just been overrun by the patriarchy, Okay. And there's like flags everywhere. And Ken is like, being a man is about watching The Godfather and mansplaining it to women and looking like a bunch of bull riders who have horses and who are obsessed with horses and obsessed with just being buff and masculine. And then they took over all of the jobs they wanted, and then they wanted to take over the entire government. And Barbie's like, oh my gosh, we're never going to be able to do it. And then they take the real world girl and the real world girl's daughter, and they kind of start this revolution. They're like, we got to change the Barbies. Like, we got to get them back, because they'd all been kind of hypnotized by this masculinity and patriarchy. And so America Ferrera plays like the real world girl who is playing with Margot Robbie's doll. And America Ferrera goes on this huge feminist rant. It's like super intense and insane. And everyone gets really excited about it. And they're like, we got to take all the Barbies one by one, and we've got to unbrainwash them. We got to remind them who they are. We got to remind them that they have power and that the Kens are coming in and they're taking over, and we got to stop this. So one by one, they unbrainwash the Barbies, and then they set up this huge plan to take back over the Kens by making the Kens fight each other. And while they're fighting each other, they're going to reinstate like Barbie Land into existence. So at that part of the movie, it got very politically charged, and it was like honestly kind of intense, and it was very biased. Like, I don't think that was bad, but I do think that it was 100% made to make a point. And I don't know how I feel about that. Like, I feel both ways about it. Like, I love it. I love that we're putting, feminism out there. I love that it's being seen for so many people. And like, it was truly so beautiful. And it's going to empower so many girls. Like, it was just talking about beauty, and you had like women of all sizes and races and, disability and everything there and present. And it was awesome. There were even like some transgender women in the movie and like the dance scenes, and that was great. But I think also because they made it like so politically charged, I do worry that it's going to get like backlash for that, in terms of being, like maybe parents letting their kids go see the movie. I don't know. I wonder about that, because I think that it's very popular in our culture to make these big movies and say these big statements and like very, have radical change. And, I'm all for that. And I love that. But I also think that that can fall on deaf ears when it's too loud sometimes. So I don't know. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
I think both, right? Like, I can see both sides. I'm definitely, that's my vision, and like that's the future, and like that's what I want. And I think what's important about all the little girls going to see this movie is like that's going to be the norm for them. But for me and my generation, I'm definitely caught in between, where I'm like, oh gosh, like I feel a little like, I don't know. It just, it feels like maybe some parents might have issues with what the movie's portraying.
Well, it hasn't had much backlash as of yet. It's gotten all positive reviews. And speaking way back, but when you're saying when you first got in line and you took pictures in the Barbie box, this has been one of the most aggressive marketing campaigns in a long time, a very long time. Barbie is posted on everything. There's everything pink. Just today, the day of recording, you were on Google searching Barbie, and it was pink and it was flashing. It was a very aggressive, and it led to $162 million in the first weekend, which is the biggest movie of 2023 and the biggest opening weekend of any female director in history. So it's
Yes,
definitely done
it
it's
has
done
done
great.
its job. Yeah.
It's done its
And
job so far, and it's one of the biggest movies of 2023 overall, which has had some big movies. It's
it
going up
has.
as it is. Like projected wise, it's supposed to be one of the biggest ones.
Yeah. Maybe we're all kind of recovering from COVID, and that also leads into another conversation like about movies and films in general. But
Well, movies and
before we
films in
get there,
general are before we
yeah.
get there, we can talk about that at the end. You want some fast facts from Barbie?
Yeah, I want fast facts.
Okay, some fast facts.
Oh, wait, I gotta put
Margot,
on my Barbie glasses because I wore
yes,
these
put on your Barbie
especially.
glasses while I tell you your fast facts.
Okay.
Margot Robbie was not originally Barbie. The original cast for Barbie was
What?
Amy Schumer,
Ew, I'm
and
so
then
glad
Amy
they did
Schumer
not
backed
go with
out
her.
in 2017, and then it was supposed to be Anne Hathaway.
I
And
don't
then
like that
after Anne
either.
Hathaway,
Okay, because
they
Margot Robbie
decided to go
played
with.
stereotypical Barbie. That was her name. And so I don't know.
Also,
Is Anne Hathaway stereotypical Barbie? Not really.
I mean, maybe.
Oh, why was
Also, Margot
that?
Robbie didn't want to play Barbie because she didn't think she fit the role, and they said, "I'm writing
Oh,
this for
she
you."
fit
And
it
now,
so beautifully.
one of the big things about the movie were when she gets out of her heels and you see her on her toes. That is actually Margot Robbie on her toes. She said
No way.
she was holding herself up on a bar, and there was double sided tape on the ground to help her get off. But that is actually her walking on her toes like that. Um, for that one, here's a really fun one that I really liked. So John Cena's in the movie,
Yeah,
right?
he is. He's a little
So John,
merman, merkin.
he's Mermaid Ken.
Yeah.
So this happened because Fast X was happening on the soundstage across, and he ran into Margot Robbie, who he knows from Suicide Squad. They're both in Suicide Squad,
Oh,
and he
right.
said, "Hey, do you guys have anything that I can play?" And so he became Mermaid
Oh,
Ken. That's how John Cena made it into the movie. I think that's one of the best facts that
I
of
love
all of them
that
so far.
fact. I love John Cena. I
Um,
hope he doesn't get canceled next. I feel like everyone's going to get canceled soon enough.
John Cena, why do you think he's gonna get canceled?
I don't know. I just feel like, I don't know. He was like a
He's
UFC
too.
wrestler, right?
No, he was in WWE, and he is known as one of the nicest people on earth. He has the Guinness World Record for the most Make a Wish visits of any celebrity all time.
Aww.
So, I think he's fine.
John
Another great one.
Cena. Good.
Another great one. After Ryan Gosling was offered the role of Ken, but he had to take a second to think about it, walked out to his backyard and and found a Ken doll face down in a puddle of mud next to a squished lemon. He
Sim,
immediately texted
Sim,
Greta.
Sim.
Immediate texted Greta and said, "I shall be your Ken. His story must be told." I think that is
His story
hilarious.
must be told. I'm dead. Okay, I have a fast fact for you too. I
Sure.
listened to an interview with Margot Robbie and Ryan Gosling, and they said, "How did you convince Ryan to do the role of Ken?" And Margot said that if he did the role of Ken, she would give him a treat or like a gift every single day of filming, and she
Hmm.
did. And it was
Yes.
either beach themed or horse themed every single day.
Yes, I did see that. Beach. It was a lot of beach theme, and there was some horse theme. And the last one I'll give is Margot Robbie made the cast wear pink every single Wednesday, and
Oh.
ones that did not wear pink, were fined. So they
Ah!
all were. Actually, I'll give you one
Ooh.
more. There was one more
I
good
don't
one that I
know. That
liked.
feels a little sus legally.
They probably didn't actually find them. The last one I will say is Ryan Gosling came up with the idea for the Ken underwear, like the Calvin Klein underwear. He thought it was a great idea. He rushed to the set to the clothing manager and said this would be a funny idea. So those are my fast facts from
I
the
love
Barbie movie
that.
that I have not seen. So just quickly, quick hit here. Did you enjoy the movie?
Yeah, I did. If hmm, I don't know. I kind of at some point, I'm not gonna lie, I kind of wanted it to be
That's
a little bit
I'll
less.
tell you right now, for the rest of time, that's how you're going to think of movies. That you're
Yeah.
never going to go to a movie. You're never going to go to a movie and say, that was the perfect amount. 3.5 hours, perfect. Like, you're never going to get
No,
that again.
not the timing. The timing was fine. It was
Oh.
how much they tried to shove into the movie. I honestly like I
Oh,
understand
the
the whole
story.
storyline with Mattel and because Will Ferrell and all of his executives had to follow them to Barbie Land because they wanted to like ice out that Barbie because if it got out that there was a Barbie, just it was just too much liability. So they wanted to like shut her down, but it was so stupid. And they played, I mean, it's Will Ferrell, and you know how I feel about Will Ferrell. Like he just kind of plays dumb roles, and sometimes I'm just kind of not into it.
He's
I think,
fantastic.
and you do like Will Ferrell, don't you? A lot of people do. I mean, most
Yeah,
everybody
most
does.
people.
he just bothers me. He bothers me. So, but he was fine in this role. It was just so they were supposed to act like idiots because in Barbie world, it's women who run everything, and then when they go to the
Yeah.
real world, it's men, who run everything. And like it's supposed to be this big point about how the whole movie is this big point about how Barbies think that they have saved women for eternity by being empowered and like being plus size and being all races and being whatever, like having every job ever. But in reality, women are like severely oppressed as compared to men in the real world. And like that's kind of Barbie's realization. She has to go back to Barbie land and say, we have to do more, we have to do better. But I think they just kind of took it a little bit too far with the storyline and they tried to shove a little bit too much in. I don't know. I think it was really good in theory, but in practice, I would have loved it if they took it just like a beat slower and maybe like kept us in Barbie land a little bit longer and maybe developed those like relationships. I don't know.
That's a lot of movies now. I guess we could transition over for our last point here. Our last point is going to be about movies overall. This is really where I'm going to step in because I have big opinions on this. And the Barbie movie falls into this category. But I feel like a lot of these movies especially the ones where you like go from one place to another or something like that, the big, like, I don't want to say complaint, but the big, thought after the movie is like, I wish they would have stayed in X longer. I'd love to see X more. Well, let me tell you, you will, because there's going to be more than one Barbie movie. There's probably going to be 3 to 5 of them and a bunch of spin-offs. And that's where my problem with movies comes in, because now you can't have movies. There's no individual movies anymore. They have
I
to be
know.
some sort of blockbuster. And no, I feel like no movie will be greenlit unless it's already a successful IP. That's where Barbie falls in. Like, Barbie's already a very successful brand. So you take this very successful brand, you make a movie about it. They just did with Mario recently, where there's the Mario movie. They did it with Sonic the Hedgehog, not as recently as Mario. They did Sonic the Hedgehog. There's already two. There's going to be three. That's what they do with these movies, is they continuously make them because they just want to keep building off this already made IP and just make as much money as they can. They run it straight in the dirt. They did it with Despicable Me. They did it with Shrek. They did it with Cars. They did it with everything. They just run it straight into the dirt. And I mean,
Yeah.
even Marvel right now, Marvel is in
I
such a
know it
tough
has
spot
gone down in
because it's gone
quality
downhill because they
so
just keep going
much.
and going and going. Although Loki season two has a release date, which is coming up. We'll talk about that in
I
another episode,
do
though.
love Loki. I love
Yeah,
that
but
show.
Loki, the reason Loki, so WandaVision and Loki were so much better than the ones that come out now is because they were the first ones to come out, right? They put a lot of development. Then that's a different conversation. Anyway, everything has to be an IP, which makes small movies um kind of like irrelevant. Like, you're not going to go see it because you're not going to pay $25 or more. Now with AMC, people that don't know, AMC is making the middle seats more expensive and the outside seats less expensive. All of them still over $20. So you're not going to pay $20 to see a movie you're not sure is going to be good, or something that you don't know. You want to be, if you're going to pay that much money, you have to know what it is going in. When I think this is going to make film festivals almost like music festivals, where you're going to go to see these movies, you're going to pay for a ticket to see these movies, and that's how you're going to be able to see them. They're just going to go on tour around all these different film festivals. But I think that's a whole different conversation. I just think it's very frustrating that all these movies have to have big IPs on them. And if they don't, they have to be blockbusters with big name directors, which there's so few of them now. Like Christopher Nolan with Oppenheimer, that just came out. Again, another movie we could talk about at some point. Um, but that's big because it's Christopher Nolan, which we don't get that much anymore. If you think about like the 80s and 90s, got that all the time. Steven Spielberg, like, any Steven Spielberg movie was a big blockbuster. He started the summer blockbuster with Jaws, and it continued on. And now you don't even get that with directors anymore. You get it with IPs, because IPs is something you know going in, and we don't really know directors going in like we used to. And then a director flops, like Taika Waititi did with the last Thor movie, and then you're like, well, do I want to go see another movie with his? Because like that's what, when he gets full control, this is what happens. So it's a little worrisome to do that, but that's kind of just my take on that.
Yeah.
I don't need to go much further on that.
No, I mean, we had this conversation, and it's definitely sad because growing up, going to the movies was such a huge part of our childhood, and it was so affordable, and it really was kind of like a passage of, right, like it felt like something that is very nostalgic for us and we love to do, but now it's just not as fun. It's expensive and the movies aren't as great. And you're right, they're kind of just beating a dead horse. I think, especially with like the film industry and the TV industry right now, kind of like it taking a downturn. They're really trying to
Well,
like make a fast buck anywhere that they can. So it really
that
reflects in the quality of the movies that are out today.
it's funny that you say TV and stuff like that, because the last point I want to get across is, and I've talked about this with you off air. Streaming is destroying media right now, and not in a good way. It's in a really bad spot. It's to the point where Paramount and Universal are considering merging streaming services. They're going to take their two things of content and add small content like studios, and then make basically what it's basically going to be Hulu, um, is just it's a really big deal for people that don't real. And when fall comes around, I'll call this right now. When fall comes around, everyone's going to be talking about this, because all that's going to be on TV is game shows, Survivor, and those fantastic reality shows that you like to watch. That's all it's going to be on TV, because of the writer's strike, which is a
Mm.
huge thing we talked about in the previous episode. So go back and listen to previous episodes, catching up, if you want to hear more about that. And because of streaming, and you were gonna that streaming it. So Peacock, which is with Viacom, which is CBS, right? Peacock's with Universal, it's NBC. Peacock lost $750 million last quarter in just streaming. They're projected to lose over $3 billion with just Peacock, because they can't make money off of it. They used to make money as they would sell the show to Netflix, they'd sell the show to Comedy Central, they sell the show to Hulu. That's how
They
they make
showed the
them
show.
stuff. They do. They sell the show to all this stuff, and that's how they made their money. But now, because it's on their own platform, they're not selling it to anybody. So and they don't have any ads. They can't run ads with the people paying for it. So all they have is the 10.99 that they make per person, and they make no money. It's so bad that Disney, who owns ESPN, has fired some of their biggest employees. Jalen Rose, Mark Jackson was just fired. Um, uh, Van Gundy was fired. These are all very prominent basketball people for ESPN, all fired strictly because of Disney Plus and how much it's struggling to make money. So I don't think Disney Plus is going to be around much longer. We already saw HBO Max, which if you're a veteran listener of this show, very beginning in the first 10 episodes, we had a bunch of episodes about HBO Max and how much this is going to change the game. And it did for a while on the good way, and now it did for a while, and now it did for a bad way, because it's gone. It had to merge with Discovery Plus, and that's why it's just Max now, because it's Discovery and HBO had to merge because it just couldn't keep afloat. And that's HBO. HBO is like the premier cable channel, and
Yeah.
it had to merge because it lost so much money. So streaming, which everybody thought was the future, is actually going to be gone much faster. I think everything's going to be like Hulu with Hulu Live, or YouTube with YouTube Live, where you'll have the stuff you can stream, and you'll also have the live TV option. And we're just going to go back to what basically is online cable. And that's literally going to be the future of TV. And the reason that this merger, to finish my point, is so big, because if they do that to where they have all these shows and they do live TV, those two channels they can't merge together, because then it'd be a monopoly. It would get shut down by the courts. But they'd have to create a partnership to where they make money off of this live TV, and they can buy stations off live TV. And that'd be huge. That'd be unbelievably huge. The two of the power four or five, because there's only 4 or 5 companies that own all of media, which is another deep dive we can get into one day. But there's 4 or 5
Yeah.
companies that own all of media. That's it. It's like Viacom, Universal. I think Apple's in there, uh, Disney, and something else. That's it. That's all there. In Time Warner or something like that. That's
Mm.
all that owns all. And if you look under in the branches, that's where you see Like Viacom owns CBS, they own Nickelodeon, they own Paramount TV, they own Comedy Central. Like it's all under that. Anyway, um,
Wow. That
so
was
if
so
two of
much
the five
information. That was so
merge,
good.
yeah, if two of the five merge, it's a huge deal. That's all I'm trying to
I
say.
truly
We won't learn
don't
about it yet.
follow that, but that's why I have you. Because you know
Yes,
all this
I
and you
do.
keep me in the like everything just goes to you. Like I'm like, I don't understand that stuff,
I I
but
I feel like I have so much knowledge on that because this I didn't just start following this. I've been
right. This
following
is
this
part
since
of
the
you.
writer's
And
strike.
well, you're also just you're a very curious person and you go out of your way to be in the know about most things. And I think
Yeah.
that's a good skill. Like you know me, I kind of just like sit in my little cocoon, but I need to get out there more too. I need to learn more about things too. I've been in a little bar study bubble. I need to like go get in touch with the world. But okay, I do want to say one last note about Barbie before we end this like cute little
Uh-huh.
podcast of ours is amongst all of my criticism and amongst all of my questions and maybe things I would change about the movie, right?
Uh-huh.
I think it was amazing. And I would recommend anybody to go see it. I don't know that I would go back in theaters to watch it unless I was going with like a group of girlfriends and it was going to be a moment. Because if I just watch it when it comes out on streaming. Oh, or not, I guess. Whoops, triggered.
Well, no, streaming's still gonna happen. It's just gonna be
It would be in the next few years. We're going to see a big
it'll be in
shift.
a
Yes,
different
I
way.
understand.
Yeah,
Yes, yes.
different way.
So yeah, but I do think that like that is the kind of stuff we need out in the world, and I love how Margot Robbie really used this character and like this platform, and she really lifted up everyone's voice, and I think that it was just a really empowering movie, and I think it's going to create a really good effect, like a ripple effect for especially young girls today. I will say like if that had been out when I was a young girl, I would feel so differently about myself. Like I really love what we're doing for young women and like empowering ourselves and remembering that, you know, we're smart and we're compassionate and empathetic and, you know, talented and curious and whatever else they are, but also beautiful. And no matter what you look like, you're still beautiful and you still deserve to be celebrated. And those aren't conversations that we were having in the media when I was growing up. So I'm really excited to see what's going to happen. And then, you know, even when like we have kids and they're growing up, like what's that going to look like? I don't know. But this movie makes me feel like and you're right. And the fact that it's been so widely accepted, like this movie is popping off. I went to the mall last week. Everything is Barbie. Every
Yeah.
store is Barbie. Even if they're not selling Barbie things, it's pink, pink everywhere. And I went into Vans. They have an entire collab with Barbie. Oh my gosh, I need to get a job because I need to get the collab. The shoes were so cute, and they have like these cute pink overalls. And like, what are you gonna do? Everyone loves it. They're eating it up.
Yeah.
It's making a splash.
That's why we decided to make a podcast about it. And you can thank one of the five companies for making Barbie, whoever owns Mattel and whoever owns the studio that decided to do it. By the way,
Yeah,
AT&T, Comcast / Universal, I forgot they merged a couple years ago. Disney, News Corp, Viacom. Those are the five companies.
you really
And
had to get that point
CBS
in there.
and CBS is such a big conglomerate of Viacom that they also, as an independent, control. So all these companies own 90% of all media in the United States. And CBS is such a big conglomerate that they are also included in that
This is
90%,
why
even though
all
they're
the
owned by
shady
Viacom.
shit is going down in these companies.
Yeah,
There's a lot to
yeah, this is
lose.
why.
There's a
There's a
lot
lot
to
to lose,
lose.
and it's very easy to cover it up.
This
Very
is
easy
this is
when
it.
you
Like
own this much.
that's a whole other conversation, but we
Yeah.
love it. We take it in, but we also hate it, and we're like, this isn't right, you know?
I think that's a future episode about the six companies that, or I guess
Absolutely.
sorry, the five companies that own 90% of all media. I'm not just talking TV and movies, all media, radio, podcasts, newspapers, magazines, internet sites. They own all of it. It's almost
Wow.
like the shampoo companies. Look into those too. There's like six companies that
Oh
own
yeah,
all shampoos,
that's so
everything. Like
true.
Yeah, it's crazy. Anyway, it's been
Oof.
another episode of Sketching Up. Thank you, Mary, for joining me and talking to us about Barbie, even though I started and ended with heavy topics, which
That's
never
okay.
happens on this show. Literally never happens. But here
Well,
we
it's
are.
okay because we're gonna have that Lizzo song, and you're just gonna forget that it's Lizzo, and you're just gonna
Yeah.
rock out to just the music.
Rock out to that
Oh my gosh! I wonder what
undescribed
Barbie is saying
person.
about Lizzo. I wonder what Margot
I
Robbie
don't
is saying. I'm
know.
gonna have to look that up.
Or Anne Hathaway or Amy Schumer.
Oh,
What
I'm
do they all
so
say?
glad they didn't choose Amy
Yeah,
Schumer
if
because
it was Amy
I
Schumer, it would be a very just not
flop,
great movie.
flop.
It'd
Oh
be
my
such a
gosh,
not great
it
movie.
was not Amy
Anyway,
Schumer's role.
go on social media, follow Schnabel Studios wherever you want. You can do Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, LinkedIn, YouTube, TikTok. You can find all the updates there. You can also follow us anywhere you get your podcasts. Follow us on Spotify if you want to watch. Follow us anywhere else if you want to listen. It's a great listen. It's a great watch. It's a great overall. You can also watch us on YouTube, or you can find clips on there as well. Make sure you check out on Schnabel Studios. Southern Hospitality will be coming out this week, so we'll a throwback of Mad Props. So we have a lot of stuff coming out. A lot of good stuff coming out. So thank you for joining us. We are officially 11 episodes. We're going to be 10 episodes away from 100 episodes. So it's coming up fast. It's coming up quick. So make sure you stick around for that.
Yay.
Thank you for tuning in to Sketching Up, and we'll see everybody later. Bye-bye.
Thank you.